Hey, it's Adam. Welcome back to another video tutorial for MFC Deck. Today we're going to talk about widgets. Did you know that MFC Deck can create iOS 14 home screen widgets? Let's take a look at how we do that. Here is my iOS 14 home screen, and we have about 5 widgets that correspond to 5 cards in MFC Deck. So if we take a look at MFC Deck, we see this is the primary deck here, and we see a bunch of cards that look very similar to what's on the home screen. We have a weather, we have kind of this office lights thing, and we have a battery widget. In addition, we have this last backup widget. So I have an automation that runs every day, once a day, that backs up my shortcuts to iCloud. And while this runs automatically, I could actually just tap this and run it manually. Tap that, and it opens up the Shortcuts app to back up my shortcuts to iCloud. And when it's done, we see here that the last backup date has just updated to 12/13/20. So if this thing runs automatically in the morning, the widget will automatically be updated. Here we have office lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Siri to turn off my office lights. Turn off the office lights. As you can see, the lights have turned off. And if I tap on this widget, it will run the shortcut to get the office light status. And we can see here that there's slashes now on all the lights. So if I turn back on the lights, podcast purple. The lights have come back on, and if I run this again, it will update to reflect the status of the lights. Now again, you can attach a personal automation such as an open app automation or a time of day automation to automatically run that office status shortcut so that the light status is always up to date. Or you can just tap it to run it manually. And you can add text to your shortcut like in the last backup one so you can see when the last time it was updated. Here's how you add MFC Deck cards to the iOS home screen as widgets. Go to the home screen, tap and hold, tap the plus, search for MFC Deck. There are several widget styles. We have a small, medium, and large card. We have a single deck, which opens up a deck, or we can open multiple decks with the multiple decks widget. We're going to add a single card. Tap the widget, choose the deck in which the card exists. I will choose the primary one. And I will choose the battery card. And there you go. If you wanted to add the multiple deck widget, again, we would search for MFC Deck. We'd scroll to the multiple decks. You can have up to 8 decks showing up in this. We'll just choose 4. We'll set the first one to primary, second one to clipboard, third one to weather, and the last one will be Mac apps. Tap done, and there you go. Tap the weather, clipboard, and finally primary. And that's how you add your MFC Deck cards to the iOS home screen as widgets. So how does this work in the back end? In MFC Deck, a card can display a custom view that is the same whether it's in the app, on iOS 14 home screen widget, on the Apple Watch, or in a Siri voice response. Let's take a look. Here we have, again, the battery card, and I'm going to double tap on that and take a look at the underlying shortcut. This is the MFCD battery level. And what this is doing is very simple. It's getting some information about the battery level and setting some variables. In this case, if the battery level is greater than 60, I'm going to set the color to green, and I'm going to use this SF symbol battery 100. If the battery level is greater than 30, I'm going to switch to the orange color, and I'm going to use this 25% battery icon. Otherwise, set the background color to red and use the battery symbol 0. And then I'm going to return this dictionary object that you see here back to MFC Deck. So if we run this, we'll see it generates this information here. The format of the dictionary is very specific. You have a version number, you have a Boolean MFC Deck set to true, and that will cause MFC Deck to interpret this object that you're returning as a card result. Next, we have the items array. The items basically correspond to rows within the widget. So we're going to have 4 rows here. The first row is the icon, and we're going to set the icon size to 48. We have a spacer, which basically pushes down the rest of the content to the bottom of the screen. And we have the battery and the battery state as tokens that you can insert into a card result. If we set this debugging flag to 1 up here, basically it's going to display the card result to us before it returns it back to MFC Deck. So if we run this, we can see this is what the widget or card will look like within MFC Deck or your home screen. I can also change this to all, and it'll show me what it looks like in all the different sizes. So now when we run this card from MFC Deck or from the home screen, let's see what happens. So we take a look. Home screen shows 61% unplugged. We're going to run this, tap that, and we see it's now 56% unplugged. And we see on the home screen widget, it's also been updated to the orange, and it shows the current value of the battery. For more complex shortcuts, like for instance, the weather widget, let's take a look at what this looks like under the hood. All of these shortcuts are available at the MFC Deck shortcut gallery at mfcdeck.com/shortcuts. So we store a bunch of information about the various weather conditions that we can get from the get conditions of weather action. And we do a bunch of calculations here, and eventually we create this dictionary object that you see here. So if we look, it's getting the current information about the weather, and it creates this giant blob of content. And we see there's 8 rows. We have the city, we have the temperature, using a font size of 40. Then we push all the rest of the content down. Current date. Now, what's interesting about MFC Deck cards is that you can set the visibility of different values within your JSON result so that you only show certain things for medium-sized widgets or large-sized widgets or just small-sized widgets. So in this case, this information is only shown for medium and up. So if we put a display card result here and we say all, we'll see that the same card is displaying different information. So in the small widget, it shows this. In the medium widget, it shows an extra row of information. In the large widget, it shows a lot more information. And this is also reflected when you look at the widget on your iOS 14 home screen. So we have this one, this small weather widget right here is showing less information than the large version right over here. Okay, and all of that's controlled within your card result JSON object. You can read documentation on how to format the card result at mfcdeck.com/docs. MFCD current weather. As you can see, within the Siri voice response, you can return the exact same information that you display within MFC Deck or on iOS 14 home screen widget. Here are some advanced things you can do with widgets and MFC Deck. Here we have a widget with 9 buttons, and if I tap on one of the buttons, it will run a shortcut. This one toggles my flashlight on and off. And this one opens up a web page. Here's how it works in the back end. The 9-button card shortcut powers this home screen widget and card. And if we take a look at the card result JSON object and drill down, we see that there's a link field in here. So if there's a link field in your card result JSON, tapping that content will cause an action to run, whether it's running a shortcut, opening a URL, or whatnot. You can get more information about how to do this in the API documentation at the mfcdeck.com/docs website. One other thing that you can do is in your card, if we take a look at the office status one, if you scroll down to the advanced section when editing a card, you have return to home screen after widget run. Now, normally when you run a widget, it will stay within MFC Deck. It won't return back to the home screen. But if you have this setting turned on and you go back to the widget and you tap it, it will run the shortcut and then return you back to the iOS 14 home screen. So there you go, how to use MFC Deck to create iOS 14 home screen widgets. I hope you liked this video tutorial. If you want to see more, be sure to click the subscribe button down below. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.